Good morning to day 115, the day of the big pour, the big build-up. Sorry for my violence yesterday. Tradespeople pushed me over the edge yesterday. It really was tough. So Friday and Saturday was really meant to be making sure we were pretty much up together and spending all the Saturday testing that everything was in place, material was here, we were all ready. But yesterday we had about 3 or 4 major jobs we had to get done in the day before the pour. So just really bad pool planning. But not just that, well, there was probably 2 key individuals on this job that have been blatantly working against the owner, which obviously worked against us getting things done and having that day for prep. So today there's going to be 2, 3, 4 things I know I'm going to spot up there that need to be done that have been forgotten about, which is going to be a real shame. The steel benders that came yesterday morning, I told him on Friday, don't bother coming because I personally feel they're not going to get things ready for you and you're going to have guys standing around. And sure enough, he had 3 men standing around all day that he had to pay. They were meant to be here rebarring all of this. So all of this here had to be done yesterday for the pour today. So now they're going to have to come first thing this morning and rebar that whilst that's all being poured by the main company. And as you can appreciate, that's going to be a massive job and we could do it without being in the way. All we should have been doing today was just sitting here waiting for the concrete guys to turn up. And yesterday it should have been checking everything, making sure all the actual the jacks, as they call them, we call them acros, making sure they're all up nice and tight, making sure they're stable, they're straight, making sure anything we've got to do on the floor before we pour is sorted, because once it's poured you can't change. So a perfect example is shower trays. I bet you any money we're meant to be having like a wet room shower tray, which has to be built a certain way. So they should have boxed off the shower trays up there and probably either going to pour them quite thin, so rather than 6 inches for instance, maybe pour them 3-4 inches and then we would finish off. So they should have boxed those up. So there's 2 showers up there. I guarantee I'll go up there in a second, they haven't been done. So it's little minor things like that. If we don't do that, then they're going to pour a 6-inch slab. There's going to be no run for the water in the shower tray, which then means we're going to have to build that on top. So you're going to step up into the shower. So it'll be minor little things like that. They just don't, maybe they're not used to the detail of, I don't know, high-end stroke luxury housing, I don't know. But they don't tend to make any time to work on things because they don't plan. That's what I'm trying to say. But yesterday I tried to help them with the planning, as I did on Friday, and key individuals that meant to be working with me on this site pretty much said, no, we're not doing that. So when I tried to explain the reason why, they're just adamant, look, we want to do it our way, and it just, they work against each other. It's such a shame. Because there are some genuinely nice people here as well that actually want to do it right. Yeah, and they're more than happy to make those people's lives harder because they just want to do it their way. But anyway, neg out the way. We are where we are. Today is meant to be the pour. It is 20 to 8. They said they'd be here around about 7:30, 7:45, starting to pour between 8 and 8:15. That will be the first test they have. I guarantee that won't happen. And more importantly, this is a big day today, so the site management team should be here. And as always, I'm here on my own. And there's no one here. So let's see how the day pans out. But in the meantime, let's have a quick look around. So yesterday I did finally get that piece there poured. They still got to finish off, as you can see, underneath a little bit of box in there. They got that filled with marl in the end, and they did get it blinded on top, even though the carpenter went and put all of that around and made their job harder. They did get this finished off yesterday. They didn't compact it as well as they should have, which is a real shame. But that seems to be what they do on everything that cut corners. Obviously the steps have been put in, so the concrete will be level with these. This is the blinding I'm referring to. So as you can see it cracking when it dries out. So it's a concrete and sand mix, and it's built like that so that the concrete can obviously pour down into the beams, and the beams then absorb the rebar. I think roughly about here is where the front door is going to be going. So I think they're going to put some form of steel structure across there today, even though the engineering drawings say it's not needed. The electricians obviously couldn't do their job also yesterday because they didn't get this finished. So they had to come in late last night, and they've run all their conduits over through the actual beams. The plumbers also got to get in and do their job as well. So again, it was a whole hold up. I was trying to explain to them, if you don't do this right, then there's a sequence of events that land up being obviously pushed forward. So, but anyway, bless them, they all came out last night and got those things done. All they're doing really is obviously dropping conduits and waste and stuff like that into anywhere they physically can, because once it's poured, they can't do it. Obviously, that's the biggest problem. They finally got these cut and placed in right place, because yesterday, by the time they worked out now where the door tracks had to go, they realised they hadn't left enough gap for this to be placed, so they had to remeasure that and recut that, which means all that rebar had to be redone, as it had to be done there, because all of them were cut in 6 inches from the edge, so they were cut in here, but obviously they need to be here. So if they'd done that when I asked them to 4 weeks ago, we would have picked up all those issues back then, and that would have been rectified. But it's things like, you know, this needs to be blown through. You've got rebar everywhere. This all needs to be removed. Blocks up here need to be removed. Items that are not needed anymore need to be removed. Wood. So they're saying they're ready to pour today, but look, straight away we've got to blow this through with a blower. Stuff like this, you know, their wires, etc., just need to be pulled out and got rid of. So again, they're doing everything at the last minute last night, so it's a bloody hard thing to do in the dark. He says he's trying to do it with one hand. So straight away, as you can see, we're definitely not ready to pour. And I've not even got past 10 foot of the slab yet. Planks of wood. So I'll chuck that over the edge. But boxes are in. I mean, that there as well, he was meant to fix that, for instance. So the pour is going to be bloody hard and heavy. Yeah, he's done that now. So that was just a pipe there. I can see the screw in the bottom. It kept falling over. So I'm like, it's just little tiny things like that. That's what we should have been doing yesterday. Going through, checking everything, making sure when this bloody great pump comes in and starts pumping on the floor, it's not going to blow things over or blow things off. Or, again, we need the right smocks on here. The bloody bottles everywhere. Stuff like that. Brushes. So you know, we've actually just gone past the first bathroom, and as you can see, there's no boxed up shower tray. So in this bathroom itself, the shower is 4 feet all the way the length of the bathroom, so that whole thing there needs to be boxed in. So that obviously we can do that after the event, so we're gonna have to mark that up. They haven't done the windows along here. There's a slight sort of 10mm drop for the windows to go in. We're going to do that manually as it goes. So we're not ready for those at the moment, but they definitely have to be done. The front ones, however, have to be done. So that's one thing the carpenters were focusing on yesterday. So hopefully we put them in the right place. Right, so that's where it is. So it looks deeper than we arranged. I'm pretty sure we said 1.25 inches. So it says 1.4 inches. So the concrete's going to come up to that wood. Then it's going to drop down and go underneath, and that's so that the doors can sit up against the concrete, obviously, to ensure that the water doesn't come underneath the framing if the silicone or the fixings ever fail. So they've done that all the way along, around the beams, all the way through the rooms. I mean, it only needs to be done for the doors, in all fairness, so I'm not too sure whether they're doing it right there. But anyway, I'll ask them about that. And then you've got the main door tracks, which are 80 foot long. So as you can see, it goes right from this corner here all the way through. So that's got to be dead straight as well. So hopefully that is straight. And that's where yesterday they realised when they pulled the line, where that nail is, on the engineer's drawings and architect drawings, that is, what do they call it, plot E. They pulled that all the way along, and he's like, well, that's cleaning up where your door tracks are going. I said, nope. So I corrected it yesterday and confirmed what they've got to do. But it's like, you know, we should have known about that weeks ago, because we could have got the engineer to change their drawings, you know, but again, didn't do anything till the last minute, so we found it at the last minute. I mean, thank God we found it, but how many other things are we going to find at the last minute? This also shouldn't be able to go down at all. So we need to find out why that's moving. That's got to be absolutely solid. Things like that need to be thrown off. Again, they should have spent more time actually making sure that that pipework around the pool is 100%. That should be absolutely empty. That there is going to be poured. I mean, look at it there. So yesterday we would have been doing that sort of stuff. Yesterday we'd have had time. So we would have had time to walk over everything and just clear everything off that's not meant to be here. Also, at the same time, once you've cleared it, then we can check everything, remeasure, rebalance, just make sure that everything that's up here is right, and then we're ready for the pour. That to me is a concern, because we haven't had time to do that, because at the 24th hour we've been doing what we're doing now. So I'm a bit concerned that we're going to go ahead with something we're not ready for. And I have been saying for weeks, we have to make sure we have 24 hours before the pour to do the checks, to do the balances, to tidy up. I mean, look, you've got a pile of smocks over there, look. They still haven't finished smocking all of this. So the guys need to smock that. So I need to get all the guys together and say, look, we've got a very, very short space of time before the guys turn up and start pouring to get this bloody place spick and span and ready. At the moment, we're not ready. Morning, Smithy. So it's going to be a big day. So anyway, I know I'm saying that I'm being negative and a bit of a moaner, but at the same time, it does frustrate me when things aren't done right. I came back late last night, as you saw, and said, are we ready? And they said to me, yes. And as much as we may be nearly ready, we're not quite ready. And quite ready and are ready are two completely different things. So I'm going to need to talk to them about that when they come in. Plumbers are here, which is good. We need carpenters here today as well whilst this is going on, so I don't know who they've got coming here, although my supervisor I've brought in is a qualified carpenter. Not too sure if he's willing to do any sawing though. So anyway, Sunday morning, 12 minutes to 8, massive day ahead of us. Once this is done, the house will come out of the ground. We are looking to lay blocks Monday morning. Again, no blocks here. I would have had blocks here. Blocks, cement, sand. Morning, George. I'd have had everything ready. However, once this is dried tonight, tomorrow we can start laying blocks. This house hopefully should be out of the ground by the end of next week. So that's the plan. So I'll film quite a bit today. Anybody got any questions, obviously let me know so I can film things in particular. But other than that, fingers crossed, let's get shit done. So 8:15, pumps arrived. First lot of concrete's arrived as well. We're now up here trying to measure out where the windows have got to go in each bedroom, because we're going to have to actually do the thresholds in each one. So it's now going through, marking out. So again, one thing unfortunately wasn't done yesterday. But as the concrete's poured, we're going to have to measure. So should we go to that end and start that end? Bear in mind that's what they're doing. Let's do that. Grab your drawing just in case. Excellent. All right, George. Go all the way over this end. So at the moment, as I said, we didn't have everything cleared out, so the labourers are in here blowing out, picking up stuff, doing what they've got to do. We've also got to start at this end for the windows, because the windows haven't been marked up, so it's not essential, but what we want to try and do is build a threshold that the windows can sit in for waterproofing, so we can get that done, mark them out now. As they pour, we can go behind them and actually mark out. So we're now at 9:10. I'll show you where we are at this point. That what you heard was a vibrator. They pour concrete, vibrate it down, and then with the trowel it down. So far bedroom 1 and a third of the living room is nearly done. What we have to do now is go around the front and just make sure that there's a relevant drop on the front. The front itself has got to have that little drop on the front, so we need to make sure that we're looking at that, which I don't think we currently are, because that's meant to be down to come out. So we need to get that done sooner rather than later. Okay, so we're at 10:15. We've already had the first hiccup, in as much as the guy's been standing around because no concrete lorries have been here. So we're currently where we are when I filmed earlier. We've literally now come across the whole slab to the very end of the pool area, but that's now been sitting there going off in the sun for a good 20 minutes now, waiting for the concrete to turn up. So they need, the whole reason why we went for Sunday is that we didn't have any traffic issues, and lorry after lorry could come to make sure we can keep the pour going. So at this present time, that has been an issue. So I think that's going to continue to be an issue, because it looks like they've only got 3 lorries. So I've actually got the rebar that was hanging out of these doors here removed, so he now needs to go over and make that good. In fact, it might be worth him, there's a guy making good as we speak, so it might be worth getting him to concentrate on this one here first, because this one obviously is a little bit of a mess. So they're going to make those good. These are the air conditioning holes now, as you can see. These are air conditioning holes, and those 2 are air conditioning holes. And then what we're doing here obviously is we're coming down by 2 inches, so that when the doors are in there, the doors will obviously have a run out, and obviously the rain that comes and hits the front will obviously run off. It looks like we missed this piece from a spraying point of view. It's very orange. Tut, tut, tut. And here, obviously, one thing we had realised is that as we pour the concrete, the tube, which obviously is full of air, rises. So they've now tried to tie the tube down to ensure that it doesn't move. But again, rather than stopping here, they need to go all the way around. So as you can see, it's tied up, but that just means it's going to rise. We're going to have to tie it down. That also looks like it's running back. Wow, that doesn't look good. We're going to need to look at that as soon as possible. That is not good. That's got to run the other way. Otherwise, we're going to have water coming straight inside the house. So let's get that looked at sooner rather than later. Whilst it's still wet though. So one thing we spotted here is that by the naked eye, it actually looks like the concrete is sloping backwards. And I'm putting a spirit level on there now. We've worked out that it is coming back by about quarter, if not half an inch. So over here is actually like a half-inch bit of wood that's been put all the way along. So it's obviously been put on there for a reason, but what that's actually doing is taking that side up, which now is going to allow rainwater to come straight back into the house. So that needs to be removed immediately, and then we need to then reset the actual level. Because the level itself at the moment, as you can see, is literally coming back this way. It's got to go back the other. Rain's got to fall away from the house into the gutter. So 3 slabs obviously done, so we're going to have to undo those immediately, get those undone, get them rebalanced, and get this repoured or reset at least. So at least somebody's got an eye for detail, which is good. Another issue caught before it turned into a major issue. But we need to do it as soon as, rather than stand there talking about it. Let's get it going. So more concrete lines have been arriving. We found the issue here, what I told you about just a second ago, which they think they've rectified, but Bayesian style, they're going to go for it by eye rather than just taking off the battens. Very, very top of the 4x2, as you can see, there is a 1-inch bit of batten that goes around. That 1-inch bit of batten was meant to be put underneath. It's been put on the top, so not too sure why, but as a result, that is meant that the guys have been sloping towards the right, not towards the left. Sorry, to the left, not to the right, which means that rain would go into the house itself. So anyway, they've managed to obviously agree that it was wrong, and they're now going to by eye trying to get it so that it runs away from the house in the right way. I personally would just take that batten off and make sure the guys, as they're actually doing their levelling, use something that can go from side to side and get it 100% straight rather than a guesstimated straight. But that's not how they do things here. We've got a guy over the back polishing, which is good. But we were meant to have 4 polishers, so there is a polisher in the back of the wagon, so they've got 2. I'm not too sure who else is going to polish and when they're going to start, but obviously they've got to wait for the floor to start going off so they can stand on it and do it anyway. So at this present time, I assume, never assume obviously, but I'm assuming they're only doing 1 because they're waiting for the rest of it to go off. So they're vibrating, as you see, so they've laid 1 level, as you can see underneath, and now they're laying another level underneath as well, because it is 13 inches. And then they're going to try by eye to get that full correct, which I don't think it's correct. Let me have a quick look. So as you can see, he wants these 4x2s going across, taken off obviously, so that he can actually level across and try and make sure it's nice and smooth all the way through. They're there for a level, and they're there also to keep the pipe work where it needs to be. So really what you should be doing is putting a little shimmer underneath them and moving it over backwards by a foot so that it still remains in place. But obviously it's removed so that the guys can do what they need to do underneath. So we'll see what happens, but I think they're just going to remove them. So fingers crossed that pipe doesn't move. So that's one of the reasons why it's there. So for all you guys that have been commenting on how nervous you are for me, trust me, it's nervous for me too. So the guys are still going. So far we've had 3 or 4 hiccups. Unfortunately those hiccups have been picked up by me, not by the contractors or the concrete layers, so it does concern me a little bit to leave. The bit that I'll turn you around onto, this is the patio. To me it looks like it's sloping slightly this way. I'm not too sure why, whether it's weight or whether it's just because that's the way they laid the formwork. But it's broken up into 2 tiers. As you can see, there's the front tier, which is about 2 inches lower into the pool, and the rear tier, which is obviously back to the doors. That's the bit that I found out was actually sloping backwards towards the doors. As you can appreciate, if it rains, then water's going to run backwards into the house, which is absolutely mental. So we'll pick that up, which is good. I've asked them to rectify what's caused it, but they seem to be saying leave it as it is and we'll do it by eye, which is concerning. any tradesperson. You know, it doesn't matter how good you are, you've got so much going on, you're just concerned at the moment about whether, you know, you're doing it right all the time, let alone trying to do guesswork. So as you can see in here, we can just see the pipe work coming through. So just underneath the concrete, we've got the pipe work, which is for the drainage. So hopefully now with that setting, it should hold that in place to stop this rising. But I do think we should take the batten. It's a little 1.5 inch batten that goes all the way around the outside. We just take that off and the guys can take their measurement directly from it. So the main thing is to ensure that this is level. This has to be sloping towards the right. Now I'm looking at it and it doesn't seem to be doing that, but I'm being assured that it is. So what can I say? I can only keep on asking them to check. I asked plenty of times, which I'm sure I'm pissing them off now. I don't mean to. I just, at the moment, I'm the one that's got to live with it if it's wrong. And to rectify dry concrete is bloody difficult. So on this one that they're doing now, as you can see, they physically have the front edge to go on and then a 2-inch gap at the back. So even though they're doing it visually, they can physically see that one quite straightforward. But again, the wood itself, if you look at the 4x2 in the background, put this down, if you look in the background, it's actually bowed, it's off the ground, look. So we're meant to be taking it straight from there. So if they're taking it straight from there but it's not straight, then we are pretty screwed. So they seem to know what they're doing, so fingers crossed it's going to, the end result is going to be a smooth finish with the right run on it. I just hate lady luck, you know. Lady luck always causes problems. And with concrete, trying to rectify concrete after it's done is bloody difficult. You know, scrapers, diamond bits, scrapers and all sorts. It's just very messy and very costly. I'd rather get it done right in the first place for the sake of just taking off this battening. As you can see, it's just a 1-inch batten on the top. Take that off. You can go around and, you know, you've got the right levels if that wood is straight. But like I just said, over there it looks like it's bowed in the middle for some reason. I'm not too sure why. If it was the pipe rising up, the whole thing would be up, but it's only in that part there. It's only on that far right hand corner for some reason. Here, as you can see, it seems to be under the concrete. So God knows why, whether it's because I've been looking at it too long now or not, I don't know. But the slab obviously is continuing. The guys are over here now into the second half. The guy over the front has been polishing the front, not even a quarter, but the front 2 rooms. He's been polishing as he goes, and you can see he's trying sort of to wet and join in between where the first pour and the second pour connected with each other. There was a bit of a long gap between the first pour and the second pour connecting, and as a result the concrete went off a little bit. So they've had to cut that back and then relay, and he's obviously now trying to hide any form of joint that could have been caused. The man at the back's doing the vibrating, that's what it does. Sure his sex life is good. But anyway, that vibrates, makes the stones disappear down, helps the liquid come to the top and helps them when they're trying to finish off. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at the moment. This is my main concern, just making sure that the water all runs towards the pool from that side, from this side and from that side. So also they need to be taped up properly as well. They've got to be completely protected. So we're going to have to look at those in a minute as well. But I've done it to 11. Still a little bit more left of the day, but pro rata, what we started at 8:30, 8:30, so that's been 2 hours so far. So if they continue at this pace, we could be done by about 6. Whether they're done on the polishing front, I don't know, but again, I'd have had them start at 7 in the morning and had them a very strict plan. I've had 2 teams. There's 1 team. I should have had 2 teams here. They're meant to be 2 teams and 4 polishers, but again, that hasn't materialised either. So anyway, fingers crossed they can crack on with that. The steel benders have been here this morning off the actual front. Jeff's here to check on all the guys. He's brought another steel bender in. They're finishing off the foyer area and the toilet, and then they need to remove these bars as well along here. But other than that, they're in and doing a good job. So I'll check in again in the next half hour. 12:20. Another guy en route out. No one in the wings to come back up. Again, there should be another one sitting here waiting for the other one to disappear, but we're not getting that, so let's get up on the roof. It's not going to be the roof anymore, it's going to be the floor. So the guys here have pretty much finished the rebar now, so they've got all the side pieces in, they've got the BRC down, they've got the smocks in place, that's all tied. The guy down here is doing the actual the steel for the steps. The first 3 steps coming into the house, and obviously the other 5 will be outside. That then stretches over into the bathroom area as well, so that connects into the main foyer area, and then the bathroom's here. And they've also put a few steels over here as well. They were going to do it on the door, which I think is around about here somewhere. In fact, SW there, so I assume the door's about here. We were going to put a few there as well. But as you can see, we're probably 3/4 of the way through the main floor itself. And there's a polisher at the background. But still a lot more to do around here, obviously. And what we really need to be starting doing is actually joining the actual patio area underneath, because that's where we're going to get the cold joint situation. So, the benefit we actually have is we have a door track going right through here, which means the concrete can come underneath and join. But obviously this concrete is starting to go off, so we need to get this part here continued, otherwise that is going to go off, and that was poured quite some time ago. So in an ideal world, we need that done sooner rather than later. This piece here, I am concerned about. Sorry about the wind. It doesn't look to me as if it's all one. So he needs to stop polishing that, because that's not going to be seen. So I need to let him know this is the main thing he needs to focus on. This is going to be actually underneath the patio, but it does need to be polished because the water's got to run off of it when it needs to, and not when it's not. There was also meant to really be a run here, so you've got a gutter here, then you've got a gutter here, so there's meant to be like a V shape here, and there's meant to be a V shape here, which obviously is not going to happen because that's just too complicated for these guys with the wood that's been laid down. So as you can see, there's nothing there to help them, there's no guide. It's quite hard to put a guide obviously up there, bearing in mind that what's in place. So this also needs to be polished as well, so there's a lot of polishing to take place. But yet it seems they've got 2 polishers and only 1 person polishing. So anyway, so that's got to be done. I'm not too sure where the boss has gone. I think his truck is still there, I think. So he'd be around somewhere. They're all under the tree in the shade. There is another lorry turned up, thank God, so that can start pouring. I need to pump the additive in there, which he's pumping away. You can just see him there, look. That guy's pumping the additive that will go in, which is actually for the steel to stop rusting. It's like an anti-corrosion stuff, 1300 Bayesian. But I think under the circumstance of how long this steel was out in the open for, it's well needed. So hopefully that barrel will be empty by the time they've finished, but that's got to go right across everything. These wooden planks here, well, certainly where that one's got a nail in it, that gives them an indication of where the levels have got to go. So you can see one just there, look. They pour around it, let it go a little bit hard, gives them a guide, and then that helps them level to where they need to be. They would have had one over there that would have been removed by now. What else? This man needs someone else to help him out, because at the moment he should already be on this piece here by now, I would have thought. But he's not, he's still on that back bit. So again, if there's 2 people polishing, you can't get on it until it's ready to be stood on, obviously, but by now that is definitely ready to be stood on. So I'd have somebody over there starting to polish this piece if I was them. Other than that, my man Wayne has actually been bagging up the actual manholes, because they just had some concrete bags on them, so they would have been damaged and covered in shit. So my man has bagged them all up and masked them up properly, so that as and when they're poured, we can try and cut that back and hopefully protect the product itself. So fingers crossed, obviously the concrete's going to be poured all around them, so we are going to have to try and work out how. Well, I suppose the concrete probably is poured, I've got no idea. I think the concrete might be poured up to the lip, and then there's an inner lid that comes out, I think. I'm not too sure, I've not seen that. Still got to move that steel there. There's a steel right in the middle of the door frame, and we've still got to remove all of these steels as well. There's steels all the way along here, and this is an open area, so that is an open, that's steps coming up to this, but this is all open, so there should be no steels there at all. So I need to remind the steel benders to get on with that, but they have been really busy trying to crack on with the bit they should have been allowed to do yesterday. Bless them. Other than that, it's just literally continuing, ensuring that we don't have any cold joints, but they need to come over here now. So I'm going to have a word with them about sort of trying to finish there and come over here, because we really don't want to be having a cold joint here, so they need to get pouring here sooner rather than later. Because again, this is a storage area underneath here, and so is here, so I mean, don't get me wrong, if they can get that done quick, then they can obviously they can start coming here backwards, but the concrete goes off in line with when it was poured, and obviously this was poured quite a while ago, so they need to ideally finish off that level there and come over here and just pour some more here. That gives them time to go back. I mean, these guys do it for a living. I'm just a stupid white boy from England, but at the same time, I do have plenty of common sense. And I would say that was a good 20 minute, half an hour ago, or even an hour ago that was done. So I would be pouring up against that to ensure that this doesn't become a cold joint, and neither is any of this. So we want to try and make sure that continues through. So I'll speak to the main man in a minute. I think the main man is the guy over there. I'm pretty sure, because I'll have to work and see what he says. Anyway, still plenty to do, plenty of time, plenty of time. 5.5 hours left, so fingers crossed these guys can definitely get this poured. But let me have a word with them, see if I can actually get this process done. Yeah? Starter bars are being put in for the upstairs steps. So these steels hanging out the front are what the concrete steps will be connected to the main building by. So when the formwork's pulled off, there'll be concrete to concrete, and the steps will start around about, probably not far off where that arrow is. So the steps will start there. So we'll have a block wall down here, which will end up obviously coming out here. Then obviously from that line upwards, the steps will carry on. And the land here will obviously be brought up by that same level. So as I'm standing up here, we're not far off height-wise how high the actual mud will be over there near that wall, and then the steps will go up to the main foyer. He's cutting out some starter bars that were put in that were not meant to be there. So this is all open up here. So the steps will go straight through to an open underhang, but obviously he put some starter bars, like these ones here, all coming out. All of these actual lines themselves, you can see these are starter bars. So normally blocks will go over those, and that's what the blocks carry out with. But here, because from here all the way along till around about that gutter there, it's going to be open. There should be no starter bars there at all because it's going to be flush. So they've got to be removed. And we've also just found out that they put a load of starter bars on the other side of the building in the way of all of the windows, and that's now been poured of concrete. So we're pretty screwed there. So I'm asking him if he can go around and try and remove them before the concrete goes off. If we don't, we've got a bit of a problem to deal with. The windows won't go in because we've now got starter bars all the way around the front of the building. So this is what I said to you yesterday. If you land up in the drawings and using the plot lines, you've got A's to G on one side, and you've got 1 to 10 on the other side. If you mark out the actual markings, then you know exactly where to place the door frames, the window frames, the bifolds, and then you draw that out. And then when people start doing their work, whether it be a drain pipe or a sewage line or even a rebar, they know where to put it and where not to put it. Obviously, if they go putting it in the wrong place, then when you concrete, you're screwed. Yeah, Tyson there. Come on, Tyson. It's a hot day today, really hot. Bless them. And again, they're still having to pour concrete manually over the top of that bloody formwork over there, which is a pain in the arse. Should be able to do that yesterday before that was all put in. So, but anyway, bless them. We are at, where's the bloody time? I think that's 1:30. We're 1:30 at the moment, and probably a good 4 hours to go of concreting, let alone polishing. The polishing is what's going to take the time. They're not going to be done with that by the end of play tonight. That's for sure. So we'll see how that goes. I'll check in the next half hour or so. This is the area that somebody, I think it was John, wasn't it? John said that he thinks might be unstable with the jacks because the jacks themselves have not got any pads. The guys have said the pads are going to be fine without the pads. So what I've done in the meantime was just measured up a few and obviously put a number on each one of them, so after the pour we can see whether they've actually made any movement or not. Obviously the difficulty is that when the jack moves it's going to go down, so it's a case of trying to measure from where the original floor was. It's going to be quite difficult to do that. But I think we'll actually see, obviously, if the jacks do go, they'll go into the concrete, so you'll be able to visually see the impact, the impression they're making in the floor if they do it. So we shall see what happens there. But again, I've questioned it and they said they should be absolutely fine. That's been the response I've got. So I have to put an element of trust in them. They should know what they're doing. So fingers crossed, that will be fine. Just walk around the side of the building as we speak. The pour is going on upstairs without me. The biggest issue, obviously, we need to sort out those rebars as soon as possible before the actual concrete goes off, because once it's off, the only option we have is to cut them out. These starter bars coming out the side are for the side step that's going to come down the side of the building. Everything else, let's have a quick look up here so we can see what's going on. Guys still polishing over there. Concrete is arriving as far as I'm aware, so they're pouring the main patio area as we speak, and around the swimming pool area. Again, I'm pretty nosy, and it looks like one of the steel benders is at the front trying to sort out the windows. So we need to try and get those sorted all the way along. So I don't know where the concrete started going off, but we need to get that. We need to get stuck in there and get those pulled out. Otherwise, we're going to have to cut them, and that means they're going to be right on the very surface of the concrete. The biggest issue here is, obviously, as I've said from day one, is the wind and the salt. It lands up, obviously, concrete is porous, so it absorbs the actual. Unfortunately, it absorbs the moisture in the air and the sea spray, and then eventually gets to the rebar. The rebar then corrodes and rusts, and then it reacts to the concrete and blows. So you have to try and make sure that any form of steel is about 3 inches away from the surface. So if we're going to land up cutting those, I'm going to come on down and give him a hand. He's pointing at me, which means he needs to know which windows need to be cut out and where and why. And let's have a quick look. 2:10. Show you where we are at this present time. So we have the actual main floor itself poured. The guy's still polishing. As you can see, he's only now a third. He needs to get another one. He's got another power float over there in the road, but for some reason it's not making its way up here. Oh, there it is. Sorry, it's carried it up. The pump's carried it up. There's now going to be two of those guys on here. They've managed to get over to the side of the pool now, and they have been pouring the first layer. It looks like they're doing a layer first, doing a layer in there first, maybe about 4 or 5 inches, letting that go off, and then vibrating, and then physically laying another layer on top of that. That seems to be what they're doing. But here, one thing we've actually noticed here, all along here, starter bars everywhere. Right here, as you can see, red mark, window. Yeah, okay, so window now can't go there because there's now a gutter pipe, a rebar, which is there to hold up these two pipes. So this is a shower. As you can see, there's the end, and the bathroom comes to about here. So it's only about 6 foot wide. In an ideal world, you don't want the window right next to where you have a shower. You want it as you enter if you're going to have one. So it has no choice but to go here. The only thing we can potentially do is move it. How many more inches? I don't know. You could probably move it. Where is it now? Move it 11 inches. Move it 11 inches. And then it'll clear that. It means all that's got to be chopped out. So if we said that we're going to go from there, 24 inches. Where are we? Past there. So we're going to end up losing that pipe there that rebar and that rebar maybe, so that might work. But again, we've now got a central window on that wall, so that's one thing we need to do. We've got the same problem all the way along. Every single window we want to put in, there's rebar. So as you can see, the concrete's going off, so the longer we leave it, the more complicated this is going to be. This is a bedroom. That's where the first window goes, and then we've got electrical conduit straight in front of it, so we need to ideally angle that conduit that way to try and get the electrics through. The electrician's over there, but I don't think there's anything you can do at the moment. So pretty screwed at the moment because it's the same all the way down. One little minor oversight is going to cause us massive aggro. So it's the same all the way through here. I don't know what the rest of the building's like. I mean, at the moment I've only just looked here, but windows have to go here, and these rebars are essential because the blocks go over them. But obviously they can't have them where there's a window. So as you can see there, look, there's meant to be a window just there, and right in front of it there is a pipe and a rebar, and a little bit further along there's another bit of rebar. So again, another one's got to be cut out. But anyway, the guys are still pouring. And now we're potentially going to start having two people on the polishing side as well. They potentially could finish, they should finish all the concreting by the end of the day. But the polishing, shit me, I don't know how they're going to manage to do that. I really don't. I don't think it's even possible. I'm sure they'll tell me different, but I intend on getting out of here reasonably early tonight, so I'm going to leave them to it. When I say early, 5:30ish. I'll leave it down to them and let them deal with it. But anyway, you know, it is coming together. It's not as if it's all neg. You know, there's a lot of concrete going in today. They're still pouring, and we are at 2:10, so we still have the best part of 3 hours, 4 hours at a push. So let's see how it goes. Fingers crossed. We can deal with that and get that sorted out, and then after the aftermath, we have to come back and deal with all these sort of problems later. But again, just another thing that could have been sorted. We just put a little bit of time and effort into mapping out the grid lines on all the floor, highlighting very clearly, do not put stuff here. That's the thing where we've gone wrong. So massive learning curve for me. Anybody watching this, if you're building, mark out absolutely everything on your floor plan before anybody trade-wise is let loose. In their defence, they can't do what they don't know. You know, if you say there's a 2-foot window here, do not put conduit, rebar, etc., that's what they'll do. But if you don't mark it out and let them do what they've got to do, they'll just do what they think they need to do, and they'll always go for the easiest option, obviously, because that's what human beings do. Now we've got shed loads of bloody problems to deal with. I look forward to that. We're at bus 3. What's more happening? Quite a few unfortunate errors have been made just here. So hopefully the rain is going to end up running off appropriately, otherwise we've got a few problems coming. But anyway, biggest problem we've got at the moment is 3:15. This has been semi-polished. So is that's been semi-polished, still not poured. The rest over there, all over there. So still probably a good third of the patio area to be poured. And just on halfway through polishing the floor of the house, of which it's not polished, not as I would go for. So I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to look at putting some form of door track in here, risen, rather than having it flush with the floor, rise it out of the ground by about 1 inch and look at a different flooring in here. I thought that would be the case anyway, but I was kind of hoping that I'd be proven wrong and this would be like a glass finish. But that's clearly not going to be the case. So option B being rise the actual door track that's going to go all the way along there, up by 1/4 inch at least, 1/2 inch at least, sorry, and then put some form of flooring down in here. I'm not too sure what yet, but I think it's something. This one here has been made too wide. I think it's because they haven't taken the actual 12-inch wall and the recess and inner wall into the equation, so that's quite an easy fix. So all the doors are the same, so all 4 sets, 1, 2, 3, 4, they're all the same width, and as you can see, that one's quite short and that one's mega long. So that's an easy fix. Yeah, it's just, this is the polished floor that you look at. It's obviously polished, but it's not the polished level that we're spoiled enough to have in the UK. So option B it is, I think. One thing I mentioned earlier on, we've got a lot of rebar that's got to be cut out, but now the concrete's been poured, so we've got to try and find an easy solution around cutting these out in and around the windows. As you can see, window is meant to be there, 3-foot window, so I've got a gutter, I've got a rebar, a conduit, another bit of rebar to move in order to get that window put in there, or I move the window. So if I move the window over here a little bit further, then I might just get away with removing one bit of conduit. But obviously from the front of the building I want it to look uniform. So if I start sporadically putting windows everywhere, just trying to avoid things, anything else, I'm just going to have a bag of crap. So I've got to think about how we're going to do that. I was going to physically try and get some form of 4-inch slot put in here for the drain, for the showers, but I couldn't get up here to get it done, so I'm now going to have to chisel that out. This is meant to be a wet floor, so I don't know if there's a treatment I can put on the floor. Some of you guys might be able to tell me. The whole floor is the same height, so I want a glass screen going across here, and obviously I've got to try and slope that floor somehow. So it looks like I may have to build up on that and have a step in, which is what I told them I didn't want to do, but they haven't listened. So I might be able to, I don't know how I can. So I don't think there's anything I can do there. I think I might just get a shower tray, or same with the other shower as well, they've done the same there. Although that was still wet, I might be able to do something with it, but it's not wet, so I'm not too sure if there's anything I can do on that. And again, all the way through here, you know, every window you can think of, there's meant to be a window there, look. Rebar straight in the middle, so it's one bit of rebar, so that's not too bad, but it's still a rebar cut. Meant to be a window there, from there to there, so again one bit of rebar there, so that's not too bad. Still a bit of rebar's got to be cut though. What else? Window meant to be going there, so I just about missed that rebar, but that one's just in, so 2 bits have got to be cut out there. So yeah, it's just there's a few things we're going to have to do, unfortunately, that with a bit of planning could have been avoided. But look, that's building, unfortunately, without your people you know. I don't know what to expect, obviously, so I don't know what to manage. I don't think I need to manage this. This should be something they should better do themselves. These guys are skilled concrete people. But we've got, basically, as they poured this, the pipe rose. You can't really see it here, it looks okay, but from this side, you've got a 2-inch at one end, and then also it rises off the floor here, look. Comes right up in the air here, and then dips under. So I would assume somewhere here we have a risen element. So hopefully it's not risen enough to make water run that way or run backwards into the house. So we'll have to see how it goes on that one. What else have we got? So there's now 2 guys in there. This guy's still polishing, so I told him he doesn't need to. He keeps on doing it. He's better off polishing in the house. So I'll ask him whether he can carry on. I think that machine's just crap, so it's probably the reason why he's here. But I personally, the decking's going over here, so it's not needed. So he can go into the house there and do the house. It's probably the best thing for him to do. That's what I would do. This guy's flying away. But the sun's bloody hot, so obviously this stuff sets quick, so you haven't got a lot of time. You know, to be polishing concrete between 12 and 3 o'clock in Barbados is absolute insanity because it gets so bloody hot. Which is why I really want to be pouring as early as you can, so you can be polishing as soon as you can. But anyway, it's been quite a distance in time for the last concrete truck as well, so not too sure what's going on there, but we need to get the next truck coming along, otherwise we start getting cold joints again, which we've had an issue with today. So they poured the actual beam all the way around the water tank area, and obviously they're levelling off over here in and around the manholes. Yeah, and they've still got to continue now from there all the way down, finish the back part, and then the base over there. So I suppose the last 4 or 5 weeks have been a build up to this. So it's a shame that we're not as prepared as we could have been. We've had a long time to prepare for it. So, but even this morning, I was measuring the windows out here, marking them out so we could come up and just do the gutters for them. Number 1, I forgot the gutters, and 2, I was looking at rebar right in front of me and just didn't even think. So I think I could be forgiven now. I don't do this for a living, so for people that do it for a living, should be something that stands out like a sore thumb, but it hasn't. So we've got a few problems to deal with, but that's part of life. If I spin it around and show you from here what it's looking like so far, so you can see the enormity of size. So look, it's enormous. Obviously, it's a very, very big flat surface. So it's when you start seeing it like this that you realise how large it actually is. So can't come soon enough to try and get this finished and start getting the blocks up and the roof on. Apparently the weather is meant to be changing Wednesday, Thursday this week as well, so we're certainly not going to have the roof on by then, that's for sure. But anyway, I think the blocks will definitely be up by then. And also I'm looking bloody red as well. I've been out in the sun all freaking day, so it's brutal. Anyway, fingers crossed the next lot of concrete will turn up. We need it desperately. I don't know why it's not here yet. We've had probably half an hour in between the last one, so again, can't afford for concrete not to be seaming together quickly. So fingers crossed that'll be here in a minute. We can start getting the rest of it finished off, and then it's just polishing. So I'm checking a bit in a minute. 4 o'clock. Slab here is nearly done, and they're working on the annex floor over the back. The guys are still polishing away here, 3 of them now. I don't know when they're going to start this. They've just taken up the planks on here, so it's still wet, look, see. They need to now we're taking up the planks, need to make those good all the way around. My concern at the moment here is we're meant to be at least 1.5 to 2 inches higher here than we are here, because the actual pattern wasn't taken off, like I said, in the first place. I mean, should have been down here by 10 mil. So we should have been to this line here. So we're now down by 10 mil, and including the 10 mil as well. So that is all the way along as well. So it now means that we're probably not going to have the height here compared to here to do the decking. So, and it does look like a little bit like that's lower in the middle than it is here. So again, might be my eyes again, but my eyes were right the last time when I got that part. So I would say, if anything, that's going to be a little bit lower here, which might get a bit of puddle. We need the rain running off down to the gutters. So I don't think we're going to get that. Not too sure, not too sure. They're having a ruck over there, which is good. And they still need to get over here. Rather than pouring there, they need to pour over here. That is... It's all new anyway, and it's also going to be inside. This they poured quite some time ago, so they need to start pouring now before they start getting a cold joint. And again, sorry to bore people, but cold joint meaning two joints of concrete. So one that's been laid, and then another one's been laid to it. If you don't lay them quite quickly, they don't merge together, so you end up having one separated from the other. Perfect example here. They stopped here too long, so they've not filled properly. And now that surface and that surface aren't currently at 100% bonded together, so they should be working on this now. Bear in mind that this was done quite some time ago, certainly after that was, and after this was, and after that was. So I'd be over here now if I was them, working on here. I'd also be working on the level here, because this level is not looking right to me. It's still wet, but I would say at the moment that this isn't running that way. It's sort of got a little bit of a, might be my eyes, but I think it looks like it's got a little bit of a concave bit in the middle, which means when it rains, guess where the water's going to sit. And as we can see now, it makes it even worse because that is too low. So if that's too low and we still haven't got the run here, then it also means that this isn't high enough, maybe. I don't know, maybe I'm analysing it too much, but I think we know when we pull that away. But when we pull that away, if we're literally halfway through a 4x2, then we're 3/4 of an inch. And that's not good. So, but again, Mr. Fields, where are you? I know you watch the videos, so you're the man, and you're not around. So, but then I should be used to that, I suppose. No offence, Wayne. But anyway, still another hour or so to go, so I'll update you as I go. 10 past 5, what have I got but a red face? show you the actual surfaces. The guys are still pouring. The last part's been poured by the foyer, so the guys are actually pouring around, polishing around the actual main patio area now. All here's been done. Probably could do a bit more polishing here. Anywhere you see it like rough, it needs to be redone, but anywhere it's like dark like that, it's not too bad. But obviously after it's all done, you normally mop it over anyway. Each room's pretty much up together. That's probably where someone's turned the tap on, no leaks. We've got a staircase going down here, which has obviously been done. Hopefully you won't need that side return, so we'll just box that in and redo that. Air conditioning holes have done their jobs, which is good. Again, you start seeing a little bit of unevenness around here and bits. I think we're probably going to have to do another floor on top, which would be a shame because it's quite nice. Or do we go for a rough and ready look? What do we do? And here's where they've gone back over and tried to polish it again. So again, once that's been mopped, that will go dark. It's only the actual top coat. This is Brooke's bedroom. This is Callie's bedroom. This is the kitchen. We'd say Tasha's room, but that's actually my room. Again, just things like that needs to be repolished. I'm sure they'll come back and do that sort of stuff anyway, but obviously give me a breakfast bar in the middle of here anyway, so this is the main part of the kitchen itself. And the doors open right up from here, right over to where that conduit is, just over there, so it's quite a big opening. So they're polishing the main patio area now, which some of it's going to be overhung. So about here is going to be actually an overhang, so that's going to be underground, undercover. And this is the patio area that goes past the house. And then this is meant to be decked. But as I said just a minute ago, I don't think they've gone deep enough with the concrete on this level in order for us to have a decking on that side. So we'll find out when we take it off how bad it is, but I think we're pretty shafted there. I'm not going to find anything thin enough to sit in there to make flush with that wall, with that floor. So it needed to be 1.25 inches off that, 1.5 inches off that floor minimum, which is at 4x2. And they're about halfway through that 4x2, so we're going to have about 3/4 of an inch. So I don't know what flooring we can actually even find to put around that swimming pool that's thin enough to actually be up on a bit of batten to enable the gutters to do what they need to do. So that ain't good. And then you've got the back piece here, which is still setting. So you've still got a set going on over here. That includes the bit here and the bit over there as well. So there's this ball floating that at the moment as we speak. Trying to join the two slabs together. This man's polishing, so we'll polish this part here, and then when that starts going off, they get onto there as well and try and polish them into one. The bit down the side of the pool's actually not too bad over there. They can actually crack on with that bit over there as it is. That bit was done quite a while ago, so you could probably polish all of that along there. But yeah, so you've got the manhole covers that are obviously over here. You've got one here, one here, one here, and one here. 2 of those are for the irrigation tanks, one's for the pool room obviously, so you can actually get out there and polish that as well. In fact we can do that now, and then it can come down and work its way through, and hopefully by then this should have dried so we can actually polish that as well. So and here comes the last truck of concrete as we speak. That hopefully should nearly be enough to fill all of in here, the foyer area, which is the last part to pour. Other than that, it's not too bad. It's a shame it went a bit pig-tong here. We'll find out tomorrow when we break the actual stuff out and sprinkle it with water to see how the water runs, to see how bad it actually is. And this piece here, obviously, it's a shame here because obviously I wanted the decking going all the way around here into the corner here, all shooting that way. But because of the height now, I don't think we're going to be able to do that. So unless we come up with another solution to lay on top of that, obviously, which takes it up a little bit higher, but not sure we can do that either. But anyway, problems we can contend with tomorrow when hopefully we finish most of it. And we can start pulling some bits off and having a good analytics about what's going on to see whether there's anything we can actually do or not, or whether it's as bad as it actually seems. Hopefully it won't be, but measurements are measurements. But anyway, I'm probably going to be shooting off in a minute, so I'm not sure if there's going to be more filming, but if there is, I will let you know. If not, then I will see you tomorrow.